Hi everybody, it's Pastor Robert. Happy Holy Hump Day on this June 24th. And thank you for the feedback that you've been giving for our first two Holy Hump Days. You can check those out. Those are online at this site. And we focused those first 2 weeks on the racial tensions because of the George Floyd killing in Minnesota. And we even had a peaceful protest here in Athens. So wanted to continue to lift up race relations, and that we would all promote peace and understanding and sensitivity. That's all very important, and that's part of our faith, is to remember we are all children of God. And so I trust that you will keep praying for that end as well. So I want to take it a different topic today and just focus a little bit on when we might be returning to the building. We're still the church, even though we can't physically worship together because of safety issues. But we do have some members of our church that are meeting tomorrow, actually, on Zoom online, and discuss, when would be an appropriate time to come back and what would that look like. I know some churches have come back, most have not, but those that have recorded, a much lower attendance, and there's some restrictions involved, and so in many ways, it doesn't have that same feel of church. So there's a lot for us to think through, but we've been on the cautious side, as has our neighboring United Methodist churches in the surrounding Athens area. And like I said, some have opened, but we're staying consistent with Central Avenue United Methodist and the Plains United Methodist. We've said that we might decide differently on when to return with our churches, but we are trying to maintain some unity with that and consistency. So we'll see how that goes. So please keep us in your prayers. I'll send a letter out with the latest update on where we might be with that. Also, we're doing the Summer of Psalms series, and I love the series, by the way. And we can't cover all the Psalms, but one of the Psalms we're not covering, which is a very important Psalm, is Psalm 137. And that's a Psalm that kind of talks about displacement. And it's when the people of God were exiled in Babylon, and the Babylonians had taken over Jerusalem. They had pretty much destroyed Jerusalem. They destroyed the temple, which was their central place of worship. So they were displaced. And so Psalm 137 was born out of that time of exile. They were along the river of Babylon, and they're lamenting that, how can we sing the songs of Zion? How can we sing the songs of Jerusalem when we're not even where we worship in Jerusalem? And so they're pouring their heart out. And so I'm by this lake, which isn't the same as a river, but it kind of reminds me, of how the Israelites would have been reflecting on not being able to worship together and be together as God's people. However, they learned creative ways, even though they were displaced, of how to still be the people of God. And we know by Bible scholars that most of the Old Testament was written in its current form when they were in exile, because they needed to hear the stories of their ancient past in a way that would reflect their new reality of being in exile. And so there's a lot of telling of the story in a way that would make sense for them in their context. And that's really what the scriptures do. They provide us the ancient stories of our faith, but they sometimes retell it in a way that would help us in a new context. And so I think that's important for us to think about, that even as we are displaced, so to speak, we're in our homes, we're watching online, you're watching this online, we can still be God's people together, because, the Israelites needed to do that as well. And even our own Athens First United Methodist Church, when we were founded in 1800, we didn't have a building for the first 16 years. After the 16th year, we had our first building, and then we've had a total of 4 buildings. And so we're in our 4th building. And many of you know that our 3rd building, the one before this one, burnt down in 1950, getting my dates confused here, 1955. And then it was rebuilt. But during that rebuilding period, we had to worship on the OU campus at Memad. And so even in our own history, more recent history, the last 50, 60 years with the fire of the building, we've had to learn to adjust and to adapt. We are still God's people. And when we come back together, especially when we will not have so much of the fear of the virus and we won't be limited by all the restrictions, what a great time that will be. What a great celebration that will be. But we can celebrate now because we are still God's people. And the last thing I want to say, which is kind of off topic, is notice my shirt. It's I'm a Westie's dad. This was given to me on a Father's Day a few years ago by our Westies. And so happy Father's Day again. I know we had a shout out to our fathers this past Sunday for Father's Day, but just wanted to say happy Father's Day again. And I pray that you are blessed today on this Holy Hump Day and that you will continue to be blessed throughout this week. May God bless you.